glad you feel that way. I mean, it's certainly, you know, it shows a lot of love to the science fiction film that I used to enjoy watching when I was growing up. Both Sam Rockwell and I both used to love films like Outland and Silent Running and Ridley Scott's Alien. You know, I think we just wanted to make a film which felt like those old films, because science fiction today is so different. Absolutely. No, we had a meeting about 3 years ago to discuss a completely different project, and although that one didn't work out, we got on so well that I absolutely knew that I wanted to work with him. I wanted him to be in my first feature film. You know, it's really stressful when you're a first-time feature director, working out who you're going to work with on a film, because you know, you want an actor who's going to work with you and not against you. You don't want to have to work with a prima donna on your first film. And Sam was just such a sweet guy, and I just knew instinctively when I met him that this was somebody I could be really comfortable and enjoy working with, and I had to work with him on my first film. So I said, look, let me write you something, and that's really where Moon started, was sort of written for him. You know, it's funny because we gave Kevin Spacey the script before we made the film, and he was you know, he loved the script. But he was a huge fan of Sam Rockwell's and really wanted to do the film, but was a little bit concerned about the budget, because obviously it's a very small budget, especially for a science fiction film. And he said, well, why don't you guys come back to me once you finish the film? And that's what we did. And he saw Sam's performance and was so blown away by it. He said, absolutely, I want to be involved. Mm. What there is another science fiction film that I want to do. Mm. And although it's not the same story, it's a completely separate story. It takes place in a future Berlin, and it's sort of my love letter to Blade Runner, because I was a huge Blade Runner fan. So it's a very different film, but it takes place within the same timeline. So you can imagine that these two stories might be going on in the world at the same time. There was a book by a guy called Robert Zubrin that called Entering Space that I'd read years and years ago, that was all about colonizing the solar system. It was a non-fiction book. And it was basically his treatise on how you would go about setting up bases around the solar system and moving into space, but doing it in a financially sort of viable, profitable way. And one of the early chapters was about going to the moon to set up a helium-3 mining facility. So yeah, I was aware of that. Well, obviously, you know, Blade Runner, which I've already mentioned, by Ridley Scott. For this film, the ones that influenced us were very much Outland with Sean Connery, Silent Running with Bruce Dern, and Ridley Scott's Alien. But I'm also a massive fan of Robert Altman's MASH. I absolutely love that film. I watch it at least once a year, sometimes more than a couple of times a year, just because I love that film. But I have quite eclectic tastes, so there's an awful lot of films that I love.
Well, Duncan Jones, it's been a pleasure. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome.